What does it say about me that the instant a celebrity name drops Grease 2 on a press tour, someone immediately sends it to me? Hi, I'm Lady Genevieve, your resident Grease 2 aficionado. I've been wanting to do a full Grease 2 video for years. It's on my 2022 to-do list, but I have some other things I would like to do first. But it was brought to my attention that one of the internet's current boyfriends, Andrew Garfield, gave Grease 2 a shout out. So that felt like a good excuse to get on here and provide just a small sample of my thoughts and feelings about Grease 2 in slightly more detail than my usual passing mention of Grease 2 that inevitably pops up at random intervals in other videos that I post on here that have nothing to do with Grease 2. I've linked the interview I'll be showing clips from in the description box if you would like to see the full video, but until then, let's get into it.
This is controversial. I love Grease 2. It's weird.
Let me stop you right there, Mr. Garfield. I don't know you. I don't know who you keep in your life. But I'm just going to tell you right now that you can do better. Who is making you feel guilty about loving Grease 2?
The cheek, the nerve, the gall, the audacity, and the gumption.
Grease 2 is the superior Grease film. No one will convince me otherwise. I can guarantee that I've spent more time thinking about this than any Grease 2 naysayer has. You know what Michael Carrington has that Danny Zuko does not? Character development. Did Stephanie Zanoni fundamentally change who she was to please a man? No, she did not. You know who did? Sandy Olsen, that basic brat. She's a bad person. If you think that when I finally do a full Grease video, that I will only drag Danny Zuko, no. I have words for her too. There is nothing weird, Mr. Garfield, with naming Grease 2 as one of your favorite movie musicals. My unsolicited advice is to banish any and all people that have led you to believe that you should feel guilty for loving the cinematic masterpiece that is Grease 2. You don't need that type of negativity in your life.
I know it's weird. Cool Rider.
Cool Rider is often one of the most cited numbers people bring up when talking about Grease 2. They love to give Michelle Pfeiffer the shout out, and it probably helps that out of all of the cast members playing high schoolers, Michelle was the one that went on to have the most high-profile career. But it is a great song and a great number, but we'll get into more of that in just a bit.
We're gonna score tonight. The bowling song.
Yes. 100%. I could go on and on about how brilliant Score Tonight is, not only as a song, but because they filmed this in an actual bowling alley. Have any of you ever been to a bowling alley? Those floors are cartoonishly slippery, and yet these legends are out there doing kicks and spins and lifts. They didn't have to go as hard as they did on this number, but they did that for us. And were they ever properly thanked for that? No. I'm supposed to care about this year's Oscars when the Oscars were nothing but a PR stunt manufactured by the serial abuser and dirty capitalist named Louis B. Mayer to try to fend off the formation of desperately needed unions when not a single film in the upper roster of most nominated in this year's lineup was able to achieve the cinematic highs of the Score Tonight number at the bowling alley in Grease 2. I'm supposed to care about Dune? Really? Did Oscar Isaac Hernandez Estrada slide down the length of a bowling lane while hitting a high note? No, he did not.
I'm glad you brought it up because I've been dying to talk about it for a hot minute. First of all,
You know, and Let's Do It For Our Country, which is kind of a really problematic song at this point.
Okay, Andrew. May I call you Andrew? Clearly you've been spending too much time on the Bird app on your secret Twitter account, which everyone knows that you have, they just don't know what your @ is. Because they're really out here trying to guilt trip you over what is or is not problematic. Now it's like I have to question whether or not you're really about this Grease 2 hype man life, because Do It For Our Country never condones Louis Demucci's actions when he's trying to trick his girlfriend Sharon Cooper into hooking up. The song is satirical. Louis is young, dumb, and full of But when he gets caught and she realizes what he was trying to do, he knows he messed up. He looks guilty as hell.
Oops, because she didn't get any on the mooch.
Louis Demucci,
That's part of his character arc. It's a small arc compared to some of the more prominent characters, but it is there. It's explicitly addressed and resolved in the lyrics of the final song in the musical, We'll Be Together, when he asks, "Will I ever score?" And Sharon tells him there's nothing wrong with just liking each other. They might look like they're 30-something-year-olds, but the characters are, in fact, teenagers. They don't need to rush into all of that right now. That's the takeaway lesson. They can just wait until all parties are ready and consenting to get into those shenanigans. Not to mention, Do It For Our Country is a hilarious satirical way of addressing the blatant military-industrial complex propaganda that Hollywood often likes to perpetuate. Anything for a check, right, studio executives? This film, Grease 2, is a high point of the 1980s, one that we desperately needed. Not that I was around in the 80s, but that decade sucked. Think of how many people in the 80s were being terrorized by real-life supervillains. But the film Grease 2 was set in 1961, which would have been when the US was already busy terrorizing Vietnam and committing a number of crimes against Vietnamese people and their land, their environment. These teenagers would have been brainwashed by the same type of imperialist propaganda that today's young adults and older adults would recognize as being particularly pervasive in the US in the early 20th century. Don't tell me I'm reading too much into Grease 2 just because you either don't like or don't know how to read between the lines. I love a great anti-war film, and it's even better if it's also a musical. Miss Saigon can't relate. That disgusting piece of garbage doesn't deserve to be getting any airtime, but here I am dragging it anyway. Puccini has already been terrorizing us for centuries, and you people decided to do an adaptation of his imperialist, pedophilic propaganda opera, Jail. Prison.
But that actor, I forget his name, an amazing musical theater actor. I totally forget, I'm blanking on his name, but I'm obsessed with him, who plays DiMucci.
First of all, his name is Peter Frechette. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but that is his name. Second of all, I love that you're giving him a shout out. He really did do that. Third of all, Mr. Garfield, your theater kid is showing.
I'm for that. I'm all for that.
All right, girl.
And Michelle Pfeiffer just on top of a ladder, pretending she's on the back of a motor. It's all good. It's all wonderful.
And once again, we return to Cool Rider. For so many, Grease 2 begins and ends with this number, and we already know Michelle Pfeiffer is legendary, that she absolutely did what needed to be done with this number. But again, I have to question, Mr. Garfield, if you're really about this life, because you didn't even once give the supreme Patricia Birch her flowers. I was watching a fairly recent interview of Adrian Zmed, and when he was talking about Grease 2, he said that Michelle was actually quite nervous about doing this number. She didn't have the musical theater background and experience of some of these other performers in the cast. But Johnny Nogarelli himself said that Patricia Birch was an absolute pro at what she did. Obviously, we knew that because this film turned out to be what? Iconic. But Patricia was an experienced choreographer. She did the choreography for the first Grease film. Adrian said that one of the particular skills she had as a choreographer / director was to really tailor the choreography for the performer, to make them look as fantastic as they could. For someone like Michelle, who didn't have the dance training or experience of some of these other people in the cast or the larger ensemble, she made the movements for the Cool Rider number something that Michelle would be able to do to keep her confidence up and keep her looking fierce and fabulous. They don't know what I'm looking for. They don't know what I need. Mr. Garfield, do not invoke the name Grease 2 without giving Patricia Birch stacks of bouquets of flowers. It has to be like the end of a Russian pop star's concert. Everyone marches up to the stage from the audience to present the artist with the flowers you brought specially for them, to say thank you for serving me exquisite artistry and entertainment. Considering that Andrew Garfield is the man of the hour, or one of them anyway, people can't keep his name out of their mouths right now because of Tick, Tick, Boom, which he was fantastic in, because of Spider-Man, which he also was a total scene stealer in. I personally would just like to thank him for diverting some of that attention he is getting to a great cause, which is the agenda to make everyone finally understand and accept the truth, which is that Grease 2 is the superior Grease film. I don't know who produced this interview segment or who edited it, but I'm going to give them a C-. I needed far more of an explanation of his favorite movie musicals, especially Grease 2. You either didn't give him time to speak, or you cut down what he said, or you didn't push him to elaborate further on the excellence of Grease 2. If you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. Clearly. I don't know when I will do my full Grease videos, but they are both on my to-do list for this year, so just keep an eye out. Like, comment, and subscribe, and keep an eye out for Grease videos dropping sometime this year with a yet to be determined release date. See you in the next one. Bye.